Okay, so now we're going to go through the whole process of solving a problem and then writing a program and getting that program to run. So here's the problem. An employee earns $32,500 annually. Write a program that determines and displays the gross pay, let's say, what the gross pay will be for each pay period. If he or she is paid twice a month, and if he or she is paid biweekly, right? 26 checks per year. Okay, so that's the problem. We want to write a program to solve it. So we have to have a process, a thought process in place. And we're going to start off looking at the problem and maybe thinking a little bit about what variables we could use. We can use a variable to store this. Okay. We could use a variable to store the calculations, right? If they're paid twice a month and if they're paid biweekly. So those are the things that we want to consider having variables for. So let's start with that. Okay, so I'm going to try and give some meaningful names to these variables. I'm going to call the first one annual pay. Then I'm going to call this one gross pay 24 and gross pay 26, right? Those all follow valid rules for identifiers. We're going to have to give them an identifier name in the program, so we may as well do it now. And so you don't have to use these names. This is just my example. So we want to think about that first. We also want to think about if we need to initialize any of these, right, to initial values. So for instance, annual pay, we want to be 32,500. And some of you are probably thinking, well, can the user enter this information? To which I would say yes, but that's material in Chapter 3. Okay? Okay, so I'm going to initialize this variable annual pay to 32,500. Now, we need to really think of an algorithm, and we've talked about our algorithms back in the first chapter. And I think to get started, I'm going to give you a template to use. If you have to get any information, then calculations, and then what you need to display. So we've already seen this process back in Chapter 1, but I'm going to talk about an algorithm for this problem. So I've put this in kind of an outline format, and you should follow the same thing. The first, get information. Now we'll see in Chapter 3 we're going to be getting information from the user. So at this point we could also say get information or initialize any variables. So we know we have to set our annual pay to 32,500. We're going to have two calculations, right? Gross pay 24 is going to be the annual pay divided by 24, and gross pay 26 is the annual pay divided by 26, right? This looks a little C++, let's call it C++-ish, a little like math. When we put it in the program, the syntax will have to be exact, but here's, this is just, we're trying to think about our calculations here. And then it'll say determine and display these two things. So these are the two things that are going to display the gross pay 24 and the gross pay 26. Now notice I'm using my variable names here, so I've given them a name. I'm storing things in them, I'm doing calculations with them, and then I'm displaying them. So we really want to keep, these names consistent. If I'm talking about annual pay here, it's the same annual pay that's here. Now, that would be a good algorithm. And the last thing that we want to do is we want to think about test data. I mean, I could write a program for this and I could run it and some numbers would come out, but I don't really know if it works or not. I don't know if it works unless I know what I should expect. So let's talk about test data. Okay, in this problem, I know that the gross pay 24 should be, 32,500 divided by 24, and this should be the answer. Gross pay 26 should be 32,500 divided by 26, and this is the answer. How do I know that? I use my calculator. That's what you can do too. Okay, so I know what those numbers should be. Now the numbers themselves, like 32,500, these answers here, they should not be part of your algorithm. They are just your test data. So when you run this program, you know what should be stored in those variables and what should be displaying. This number was actually like 1.666, and I just rounded it up to 1.7. All right, so this is the template we're going to use to move forward. I will provide you with this template that you can fill in for the algorithm portion of your project, but I want you to see how it's done. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go directly from this to my program. Now I've already written the program, but I'm going to say show you the different parts, okay? So I've looked at the data type is dealing with dollar values, so I'm going to use the double data type, right, for my three variables. I'm going to set my annual pay to $32,500 using an assignment statement. I'm going to do my two calculations using an assignment statement, right? Gross pay 24 is assign the value of annual pay divided by 24, and gross pay 26 divided by 26. And then here I have a cout statement that's going to display this string on the screen, right? Gross pay for 24 pay periods, and this will display the value of the variable. So if it works, right, it should be displaying 1,354.17. And if this works, it should be displaying the value of my test data, which was 1,250. Okay, so I'm going to come back here and I'm going to run this program. And there we go. The gross pay is 1,354.17. The gross pay for this is 1,250, and that matches my test data, and so I should be good. Just note these are doubles, but by default in a cout statement, when you display a double, if there's only zeros after the decimal point, it doesn't display them, and in fact it doesn't display the decimal point. In chapter 3 we'll learn how to fix that. Okay, so that's the whole problem from beginning to end, putting everything together. Sorry, I'm just trying to stop this now. Ooh.